Hello there, it's Jeff Nelson here from Hot Tomato on the Gold Coast. Just thought I'd share with you a couple of sort of workflows, I guess, on how I work with EQ and compression for voiceovers, which I know is a bit of a thread at the moment on radiopromotips.com. So basically what I've got open in front of me is a session that I built today from my template that I've been using for a number of years now. It's just some sweepers, some cold IDs for a night show. I use a fair bit of bussing. You can see I've colour-coded everything as well. Vox and Vox Thin, those two with the lines across them are, of course, auxiliary inputs. The light yellow ones going to Vox are bussed into the Vox channel, and the sort of ochre ones, orange ones I guess, are bussed into the Vox Thin submix. So the idea with bussing everything is that I don't put any compression on the individual tracks. Instead, the bus takes care of all that. This makes it a lot easier to swap out compressors if I want to. It holds the mix together. It also means I can go faster. I can put different voices, male, female voices, and tweak them accordingly. I do have a couple of tracks with effects on them though. This double Vox track I call it. I have a thinned out EQ with the REQ. I've also VEQ just for some extra punch. And the doubler effect, which sounds fantastic, just the basic presets there. I also use an auto pan from time to time on this Pan Vox channel, just got a regular REQ there, and the standard auto pan plugin that you'll find in your Pro Tools plugins folder. I tend to use that quite sparingly though. Below that I have 4 just straight VO tracks that I use for basic VOing. I've got my VEQ on all of those. The VEQ is from Waves. It emulates an old analog desk, so it has a certain level of fatness that I like. So I take my first 6 tracks, they're the yellow ones, and I send them through to the Vox auxiliary input via a bus I call Vox. There's the input there, and there's of course where it returns through the input of that aux channel. Onto the buses, and this is where the magic kind of happens. I have quite a few plugins down here. I've got a de-esser that I use in case it's SE audio. I also use it as a bit of an effect to sort of dampen the S sound, so then I can crank it with EQ later on. That goes into just your basic R comp. I love this compressor. It's sort of an industry standard. It's got a pretty soft knee on it, so you can crank it kind of hard. Following that, I use the VEQ, another VEQ plugin, but I use it and I crank it up at about 6.8 kilohertz. Now, the reason I do this is back to that de-esser plugin. Cranking that up will actually give you that sparkle and that sheen on the voice without making things sound sibilant, because of course you've used the de-esser to sort of squash that, so you can get a really nice, almost distorted sound without it actually being distorted just by cranking up your top end on that. After that, I've just got a basic L1 just to catch any extra peaks. Now, the Vox Thin bus is pretty much the same as the one above it, but I do have this vintage filter that I use to thin out the Vox. Rather than using an EQ, I use this thing. It's just in your Pro Tools plugins folder under modulation. There you go. Fantastic little plugin, and really gives a nice sound in comparison to using an ordinary EQ. You can play around with the cutoff, the resonance, and if you've got your track tempos locked, you can actually do all kinds of stuff with the syncing and all that sort of stuff. So all in all, an absolute awesome little plugin to play around with and have a lot of fun with voice effects, and of course you can use it on music as well. Now, when your session templates get a bit complex, you need to sort of keep your levels in check, and that's why I have this big VU meter down here, just a plugin that I have on my master bus. Pretty straightforward to use, but you do have to spend a bit of time calibrating it on the way in to make sure that your thresholds and all that sort of thing are right. I'm talking about the thresholds of your compressors for your voiceovers, and also the compressors down there on your master bus and things like that. You don't want to over compress, and there's the potential to really stuff your mix up with all this processing if you don't keep an eye on the levels. So okay, let's have a listen to a bit of voiceover with those processors in.
A Hot Nights Friday on 102.9
Hot Tomato.
Hot Tomato.
So as you can see, I've left myself a fair bit of headroom there. You can see that I've
on 102.9
got a thinner track there. If I solo that up, we know that that's going through the Vox Thin thing, which is going through
on 102.9
the Air Vintage filter, and then our doubler Vox is this one here, which is going through that process, the doubler.
Hot Tomato.
Like that. So that's pretty much basically all I have in my template to give it that hot sound. If I do want to add a flange effects and other things, I could bus it. But one thing that I do that I find is actually really quick is I'll just make a copy of something and I'll actually use the audio suite. Again, Waves Gold bundle, everyone. So that one there, and then just render that in.
On 1029.
And then, mute my... just so I've got it, just in case I need that original. I've got it there.
A Hot Nights Friday on 1029
Hot Tomato.
Hot Tomato.
Now, the only other thing I was going to show you quickly is down here I have on the master bus, I have some more magic. I've just got your basic C4, basic settings. One thing I've just been playing around with, it just came in the gold package recently in version 9, like it's just been updated, is this thing called the Vitamin Enhancer. I've read up on this. You can have a look at it on the Waves website. They've got tutorials and they've got a whole thing about it. But the way I understand it is it adds harmonic distortions, then you can alter various bands, and it sort of compresses as well. And I'll give you an A/B demonstration on this thing. This is what it sounds like without.
A Hot Nights Friday on 1029
Hot Tomato.
Hot Tomato.
And this is what it sounds like with it geared in.
A Hot Nights Friday on 1029
Hot Tomato.
Hot Tomato.
The other thing I use occasionally is this thing. Instead of the L1 on my overall bus, I'm using this thing, an L316. It's actually a peak limiter, so it's the same as your L1, but you can obviously play around with your EQs and things, and you can prioritize compression on different bands and stuff like that. So I can use it as a little bit of a pre-emphasis thing once I put it all through a little EQ thing. The other really interesting thing with this L316 is, I don't know how it works, 16 bands, it does all this crazy stuff, but the overall punch, the release character will actually make it sound different and quite amazing if you muck around with that a bit too. So
A Hot Nights Friday on 1029
Hot Tomato.
Hot Tomato.
that's it there. Now if I pull the threshold down a bit, we'll get some more of the actual squash effect.
A Hot Nights Friday on 1029
Hot Tomato.
Hot Tomato.
So that sort of sits over my master bus. So that's it, guys. That's kind of how I make the VO sound. Hope you found that useful, and we'll see you again soon.